Roger Irving was a famous boxer from Australia, but he wasn't just any famous boxer, he had been the undefeated world champion for 10 years. The comfortable yet dangerous seat at the top of the boxing food chain was glorious for the first few years. However, Roger began to become extremely bored with his occupation. Previously, this profession turned every day into a new adventure, but lately the job started to become more of a grind. Roger found his opponents to be getting weaker and weaker over the years, and defeating them became more of a chore than a challenge. Booking fights was difficult for him because most of his potential opponents were scared to death of him. One of his opponents even jumped out of the ring to get away from him. This was a sign that it was time for Roger Irving to move on to a different profession. He decided that he would become a bounty hunter. Most criminals were worth more alive than dead, so Roger knew that he could bring in every criminal alive by scoring a knockout against them. The fact that they might be armed with weapons or special techniques only made the journey more exciting. Thus, Roger set out to find a poster for a wanted criminal and defeat him. The first poster that Roger found was for a dangerous man in a nearby town. The town was called Thoushire, and the criminal was an evil necromancer named Elbuort. Apparently, this necromancer had already invaded the basement of Thoushire's castle, and he was swiftly making his way toward taking over the town of Thoushire and populating it with skeletons, ghosts, zombies, vampires, bats, and other Halloween decorations. Thus, it was up to Roger Irving to defeat this necromancer and return peace to the town of Thoushire. After a long journey across a seemingly endless expanse of green, rolling plains, Roger found himself at the gates of Thoushire. The town was encircled by a tall stone wall, and there was a guard standing atop the structure. "Hark! A strangereth appeareth! Whoest goeth therest? Identifiest thyself," the guard called from the top of the wall. "I'm Roger Irving," Roger answered, "world champion boxer." "Whither dost thouest beeth fromish?" the guard replied. "I'm from Sydney, Australia," Roger said. "I heard that you had a problem with a certain necromancer." "Thouest mayest entereth," the guard replied, as the large gates to the town opened wide for Roger's arrival. "Causeth knoweth troublest." "Cheers, mate," Roger casually waved to the guard as he made his way into the town. The town of Thoushire was bustling with many happy merchants lining the streets and many happy citizens running around aimlessly, not in a panic, but in a cheerful mood. No one would have thought that a dangerous necromancer was threatening to take over the town. "Welcomest thouest to it, thine towneth of Thoushire," a cheerful man in a fancy medieval outfit called to Roger upon entry into the town. "What business doth thouest hast hitherest?" "Look, mate," Roger replied, "I hear you've been having a necromancer problem, and I've come to take care of it. Now, could you tell me how to get into the castle?" "Huzzah!" the man shouted. "A heroeth hast comethest! 'Tis thine luckiest dayeth. We doth have at the festival todayest to taketh everyone's mindeth off of thee, thou thy necromancereth. The kingeth willest alloweth theeth, entryeth into the castleth." "Sounds good, mate," Roger said as he made his way to the castle. "Cheers." "Cheerethest," the guard called back. The castle was wide open for anyone and his brother, and even his dog, to go inside and take a look at all of the beautiful scenery. And this scenery also included the royal family. Upon Roger's entry into the castle, he was immediately serenaded by the king's court. The song went like this. "Welcometh to the castleth of the kingeth ruleth over the landeth, and the landeth liketh that. Thee thou, hither, "Look, mate, I don't have time for any musical numbers," Roger interrupted. "I have a mission to get to. Now, where's the king?" "Huzzah!" one of the king's court dudes called out. "The kingeth dost thou with thine appeareth!" There was a hail of trumpets, and the king appeared, waving to everyone with his eyes almost shut. Everyone in the room was kneeling, aside from Roger, who quickly made his way over to the king. "G'day, mate," Roger said to the king. "I've come to take care of that." "Will you not kneel before your king?" the king replied. "Oh, sorry." Roger kneeled. "G'day, mate. I'm Roger Irving. I've heard that you've been having some problems in your basement." "Oh dear." The king appeared to be embarrassed. Who told you that?" I saw a poster outside of town," Roger replied. "It said that you have a necromancer taking over your castle's basement." Oh, that problem. The king appeared to be relieved. Yes, the necromancer's been quite a problem for our castle. Yes, you see, our executioner went down there recently, to the dungeon, you know. Yes, executioner, why don't you tell him the story? The executioner happened to be nearby, but he groaned. I don't really want to talk about it. You see, the king continued, yes, the executioner, he went down to the dungeon to retrieve one of our prisoners, yes, and the dungeon's being populated with skeletons and ghosts and all sorts of monsters, what with the necromancer and whatnot, yes, and one of these ghosts popped out and said, boo, and the executioner, he ran out of there and he wet his trousers. Oh, yes, do you know what that makes our kingdom look like? When we have an executioner with wet trousers, why, it looks like we're not a dry kingdom. Well, I've come to take care of that necromancer in the basement and defeat all of those monsters who've been taking over, Roger proudly announced. And do you know what the best part is? I'll capture the necromancer alive. That way, you can interrogate him and learn how to defeat any necromancers that might show up in the future. What do you say, mate? Oh, that sounds like a capital idea, the king replied. Yes, it sounds wonderful indeed. Well, why don't you go into the dungeon then? Yes, and take care of that necromancer. If you succeed victorious, you will be you will be a hero. Yes, now, what weapon do you want to take with you into the basement? I can provide the weapon because, you know, I'm the king. Yes. Roger was wearing his boxing gloves, so he raised his fist into the air as he proudly announced, "This is the only weapon I'll need." There was a shocked gasp from the audience in the room, and the king replied, "Oh, this is quite a courageous feat you're going for. Oh, yes, very well then. If you insist, I will allow you into our dangerous dungeon armed with nothing but your padded fists. Yes. Now, oh God, go ahead. Yes, go ahead and open the door there. Yes. Thus, Roger made his way into the dungeon. It was a dark and damp place. The air was thick, and the walls were made of cold masonry. Roger was taking in all of the scenery as best as he could until a ghost showed up. "Woo!" the ghost shouted. "You shouldn't be in here!" Immediately, Roger assumed his boxing stance and threw a couple of jabs at the ghost. But the ghost vanished and reappeared behind him. Roger reacted by quickly moving away from the ghost. "Come on, give me your best shot, mate," Roger taunted. "Woo! I'm a ghost!" "Aren't you gonna try to hit me?" "I can't do that," the ghost replied. "My hand would go right through you. Instead, I'm supposed to scare you." The spectral being waved his arms some more. "Please don't let me fail my mission. Elbjort wanted me to scare away trespassers. Aren't you at least a little scared?" "I've had opponents whose faces scare me more than you do," Roger retorted. "You're just a little annoying, but I guess I'll let you hang around. Just don't get too annoying, because aside from that, you're fairly harmless." The ghost was very disappointed, so he faded through the wall and left Roger alone. After that, Roger continued his journey further into the dungeon until he came upon 3 prisoners. One of them is pictured here. It is a man wearing earthly green colors and a hood. "What are you in for, lad?" the man in green asked. "I'm in here to defeat the necromancer who's been plaguing these halls with an early Halloween," Roger replied. "Orders from the king." "Oh, I thought you were a prisoner," the man in green replied. "My name is Vernon the Green from Glasgow. I was chained in here for attempting to assassinate the king. However, it was a big misunderstanding. I was actually trying to save him from a real assassin. The man launched a projectile at the king's head, so I shot one of my arrows to knock the projectile off of its course. I ended up saving the king, but no one believed my story, so I was thrown into the dungeon. You know, maybe if I help you defeat Elbjort, I will regain some honor from the king, and he'll let me out of here." "I don't believe your story either," Roger said, "but I'll get you out of these chains. It'd be nice to have some help with my first bounty hunting mission, and if you turn on me, then I'll have one more opponent to fight. So I win either way." Roger used the conveniently placed key to free Vernon of his chains. After that, Vernon retrieved both of his crossbows from a nearby chest and offered one of them to his rescuer. "No thanks, mate." Roger denied the crossbow as he showed Vernon his fist. "This is the only weapon I need." "Suit yourself, lad," Vernon replied as he held a crossbow in each hand. "That just means I get to dual wield." Roger and Vernon then met the second prisoner, who was a knight in full armor. "Could you rescue me too?" the knight requested in a gruff tone. I used to be a knight of the king's army. My name is Trouble, because that's how everyone refers to me. I was locked in here because I told the queen that she looked fat in that dress she was about to wear to the ball. I was just being honest, and this was the payment I received. Maybe I could also regain my honor if I help you defeat Elbuort. Roger graciously accepted Trouble's offer, so he unlocked the chains that held the knight. Trouble then donned his sword and shield, and the three warriors met the next prisoner, who was an elderly wizard. The wizard called out, "Greetings, youngest travelers, I'm not rescuing you," Roger interrupted. "Ah, but I willest beeth the greatest aidest to it thou'th this teemeth. My nameth is Blaine, I doth beeth the skilleth wizardest, but the kingeth doth not thinketh so. I doth locketh beeth hither, because I performeth the magiceth tricketh, that didst not impresseth thy kingeth. I wisheth to provest myself by aiding thine thouest." Roger shrugged and freed the wizard too. Soon after that, the ghost appeared again and tried to scare the four fighters. "Woo!" the ghost called out. However, Roger quickly punched the ghost in the face, causing the ghost to fall unconscious. "Did you just punch out a ghost?" Vernon commented in a shocked manner. "Of course," Roger replied. "I've faced opponents who are more evasive than that ghost." After that, a skeleton showed up and danced. "Is anybody afraid of skeletons?" Vernon quickly launched a glowing arrow into the skeleton's skull, and the arrow exploded soon after, destroying the enemy. "My arrows are made out of magic," Vernon commented, "so I can summon them out of thin air and make them do whatever I want." Once the skeleton was defeated, Roger, Vernon, Trouble, and Blaine headed deeper into the dungeon. They came across almost no threats until they reached the innermost chamber where Elbuort was. "Do you think you can stop me, Elbuort, from taking over the town of Thoushire with my undead army?" Elbuort called out as he summoned an army of skeleton prisoners who were using their chains as weapons. "Coward thou and fearest!" Blaine the wizard taunted, "as I showest thee my newest tricketh." Blaine then took his hat off and pulled a rabbit out of it. "Shocketh and wonderest! From whither didst hither rabbiteth comest from?" The wizard's trick had no effect on the battle, so Roger rushed forward while Trouble the Knight and Vernon the Ranger covered him. Trouble's sword and Vernon's magic arrows destroyed any skeletons that tried to overwhelm Roger, but the boxer still found himself facing off against one of the undead prisoners. The skeleton threatened Roger with its chains, but the brave world champion simply threw a couple of left hooks to break some of the skeleton's ribs, followed by a straight punch to knock out the enemy. After defeating the skeleton, Roger made his way to Elbuort, but the necromancer gathered the energy to summon a powerful fire spell and launched it at the boxer. However, Roger ran straight through the flaming mass unaffected. "How did you survive my fire spell?" Elbuort asked as Roger took a boxing stance. "Many times I've fought an opponent named Sizzling Skid," Roger replied. "He wore sandpaper gloves to every fight, and his hooks and uppercuts had a nasty habit of falling just short of their target, making the gloves scrape across his opponent's face. The scrapes from those gloves burned much worse than that fire did. Now are you ready to fight?" Roger was too close to Elbuort for the necromancer to think of an attack, so the boxer unleashed a quick flurry of jabs to the face and a feint to the chest. As soon as Elbuort went to block the feint, Roger threw his strongest right punch straight through the enemy's head, knocking him out. However, just as the necromancer hit the ground, he crumbled to dust. "Oh no," Roger growled. "Did I kill him?" Suddenly, Trouble the Knight attempted a swing at Roger, but the boxer dashed away from the attack. Immediately after that, a pair of skeletons popped out of the ground and grabbed Roger's arms, holding them in place. "I told you that the king locked me in here," Trouble said. "But did I tell you that it was 200 years ago?" Trouble then removed his helmet to reveal that his head was the head of Elbuort. "That's right, I'm Elbuort. The other one was a fake that I created. Tell me, did you ever try spelling trouble backwards?" "I've never tried spelling anything," Roger retorted. Immediately after that, Elbuort attempted a stab at Roger's chest with his sword, but the sword was knocked away by one of Vernon's magic arrows. Vernon then followed by launching 2 more arrows to defeat the skeletons that were holding Roger in place. Roger assumed his fighting stance, but Elbuort laughed as he put his helmet back on and held up his shield. "Do you really think you can hurt me through this armor?" Roger simply removed his right glove and hit the shield as hard as he could with his bare fist. The shield and armor then crumbled to pieces from the attack, so Elbiort attempted a swing with his sword. Roger ducked under the attack and hit the enemy in the stomach with a quick jab to stun him, followed by an uppercut to knock his enemy's helmet off. Roger then followed with a couple of jabs to the face, followed by a straight punch through the enemy's face to knock him out. Elbiort was now down, and a light shone from above. A man wearing a pink and purple striped shirt descended from the strange light. "Oh my goodness, hello, Roger," the man said. "I'm your guardian referee." "You don't look like a referee," Roger replied. "You're not wearing the proper colors." "I'm still wearing stripes, though. Anyway, I've been waiting for you to follow your destiny of being a bounty hunter, so here I am to aid you in your quest. If I can count to 10 before your enemy wakes up, he'll be guaranteed not to wake up for 24 more hours, giving you plenty of time to take him to justice. Now let's begin. 1 banana, 2 banana, 3 banana. The guardian referee continued the count to 10, and Elbiort was still down. Thus, Roger succeeded in his mission and brought the unconscious Elbiort back to the king. Elbiort was then imprisoned and thoroughly interrogated. As for Vernon, he was freed from the dungeon in return for helping to defeat the necromancer and saving Roger's life. Blaine the wizard was also granted freedom after wowing the king and the entire crowd with his trick of pulling a rabbit out of his hat. No one knew where the rabbit came from because Blaine assured everyone that there was nothing up his sleeve. After the whole event, Vernon gave Roger the description of the assassin who tried to kill the king, so Roger set out on a new journey to defeat his next opponent by knockout. That was a very short story created by Justin Ian Miller, that's me, and the animation was also done by Justin Ian Miller. It's the first in, hopefully, a series, but I don't know. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for watching, and remember that if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, and if you really enjoyed it, want to see some more stuff from me, well, I'll try to upload what I can. Just hit the subscribe button. While I'm here, speaking of the subscribe button, I noticed that I have gained some more subscribers. I know I don't have many at this moment, but, you know, so 3 subscribers is a lot to add to my channel at this point. So I would like to thank all 3 of those people. And, yes, this has been... I'd like to thank everyone for subscribing and for watching. So, thank you very much. This has been Justin Ian Miller, and I'm going to go and write something else.